Hey folks, welcome to another LifterLMS Ask Me Anything call. Today is Thursday. It is October 3rd, 2024. You may have noticed after what seems like a year of using this platform for this call and saying, hey, we're live, and then playing that intro video, it seems like enough people have intro videos that they made it part of the process in StreamYard. So you can actually automate it. What a cool thing. So my name is Kurt. I've got Magic Emily Middleton with me, enjoying some ham and eggs, and we're looking forward to helping you out today. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything that has to do with LifterLMS, we encourage you to put that into the chat on whatever program you are watching this on. To my knowledge, we are live casting right now on YouTube, Twitch, and X. And of course, we put the replay up on Facebook after the call. And we're just really thrilled to be able to do this for you week after week after week. And if you have any questions, now is the time to bring them. Emily, I'm going to grab the discount code so I can put it into the chat real quick. Why don't you tell me what you got going on this week?
This week I started a lot of work with WP Fusion. It's a popular integration partner with LifterLMS that allows you to integrate with CRMs. So I'm going to be doing more work with that company, creating some content. So I'm excited about that. Bringing more integration opportunities to the community and a little more visibility to what's available. That's what I'm mostly working on.
Super, super solid platform too. I get to dab my fingers in it with some of the work I do at WP Tonic. But I'll be honest, I'm nowhere near an expert. Like, I am just barely scratching the surface. So, I feel like I have an inside track now on figuring out how to use the stinking tool since I have access to it. So
Definitely.
Yeah, it's for what we've used it for so far. We literally have one client that is using Lifter as an LMS, but not using Lifter as an LMS. Like, it's so hard. Like, there's so many use cases out there. But this is a global client that gives classes all around the world in person. And then they use LifterLMS to actually subscribe people to like different workflows and scripts and guidebooks and stuff like that once they complete their in-person course. So what they do is they actually sell these events off the site. They, independent people all over the globe sell these courses. And then when they sell the course, they submit a CSV file with, basically the role from class, right? Who came, their name, their email, what course they took, what certificate they get for finishing the course, and blah, blah, blah. And then we have a WP Fusion automation set up in the site so that they upload the CSV. All the students get added to the system. Anything they've already done, they get credit for, they get certificates for, and then they automatically get added to the list of, in the LifterLMS world, it's the courses, right? The lessons and courses. But the way that this particular project is using it, it's more like you get access to this library of your stuff and this library of your stuff. It's interesting the way that they've kind of repurposed the platform and leveraged WP Fusion for some of the automation.
Totally.
Yeah, I made that sound more confusing than it was. I'm sure that I did. But it's lucky me, I'm the project manager and support person, right? So when something doesn't work or there's an issue with it, they come to me and they go, "Hey Kurt, how come this isn't working?" And then I go, "Oh, I'll be damned, I don't know." let's take a look at this. So that's kind of how that rolls out for me. That's super interesting. Are you going to end up having to like go on tour with them and do events, or is it more like a working remote, hanging out with the neon cats behind you?
I hope so. We've been talking about, I think WP Fusion might be sponsoring WordCamp Europe, so that might be one I get to go out to next year. I'm excited. It's not confirmed, but just getting involved more deeply with that. I love your support response too. I'll be damned. I don't know. That's like a perfect canned response.
I'll be damned. I don't know. We'll have to take a look at that.
But we could dive into a question if you want to. Cami has one.
Cammy's got questions.
already loaded. If pull that up. Hello. I made a mistake in my LifterLMS by accidentally not clicking test user when I went to update my client's credit card information. Now when I look under orders, it has my client's info, my buyer's email, my email instead of his email. Is there a way where I can change it to his email in the back end instead of canceling the whole transaction and starting over? So I think, correct me if you have a different interpretation of this, but I think it's like right when you're running a test sign up and you use your email instead of a customer email, the question would be, how do I change my email on my LifterLMS account? And this sounds like on like not clicking test user when I went to update my client's credit card information. So like,
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know.
starting to wonder what payment gateway we're in.
Right. And I'm thinking, I don't know if you're talking about buying the LifterLMS product from us or if you're talking about buying a course or membership on a website with Lifter. I could show you both.
Yeah. Let's jump into a screen share of things that would be possibilities to change. But there's certain things like email sticks with the account, period, right?
Let's see. I don't think so. I think, am I sharing my screen? Yeah, sick.
You
If
are
we go
sharing your
to
screen.
edit
Welcome to my
account,
dashboard.
I think we can change email right here.
There we go.
Inside of Lifter. And then if you're talking about actually like, I can go to a new window and not share my license key at LifterLMS, lifterlms.com. My account, let me log in real quick. Infinity bundle. So if I'm on that account, I just need to make sure my license key doesn't display. Here it is. I'm just verifying. So that's how you would change it inside of a LifterLMS install. And this is not, yeah, I'm not sharing any sensitive data, so I'll pull this over. This is on the LifterLMS side. If you purchased a LifterLMS license on behalf of a client and you put your email in instead of theirs, you can swap that out under account at lifterlms.com. Right here, just enter the new email address and click save at the bottom. So either way, there is an opportunity to update email. Do you think that's kind of what we're looking for?
I think that's what we're looking for. Yeah. The clicking the test user is what kind of got me misdirected there. I was like, well, what are we in? Are we in SureCart? Are we in WP? I mean, are we in WooCommerce or where are we at? But yeah, it's and you know what? If Cammie's here live and you can clarify for us, Cammie, that would be awesome. But I hope that we've given you the information that you were looking for right there. That update user thing, that's one that I see a lot of people try to take off the dashboard menus, when we can clear the endpoints and clean up the dashboard a little bit. But I got to tell you, Emily, that's one of the ones I try to get my clients to leave behind. I'm like, you want your clients to be able to get in and have some control, some autonomy over their account, their information. If they move, if they change their phone number, if they whatever, you want to leave that there. Some people think that the cleaner the dashboard is, the more, the less intimidating it is, or the easier it is to navigate. But that's one of the tools that I think really should be left alone.
I agree.
All right. Adam's got a question. And this is interesting. I don't see this question very often anymore. So it says, just getting started. How does branding work? I assume that word is branding. So how does branding work? Can LifterLMS be integrated to an existing WordPress site without LifterLMS branding? What you're looking for is like some kind of white label example. There were a couple of tools a few years ago that had a white labeling feature for LifterLMS. It was a premium third-party plugin that you could purchase that would help you white label LifterLMS. But to my knowledge, that's no longer supported and it's not listed on their site any longer. So when I take a look at your follow-up question where you give us a little more context, it says, for context, I'm interested in taking the checklists and content on www buried in work, so it's available with progress tracking to customers. Like this checklist, track your progress and share it with family members. One thing to remember is on the front end, you're not seeing branding from LifterLMS. It's not, you're not opening up a course page or a lesson page and it doesn't say, this lesson is proudly brought to you by LifterLMS. There's none of that, right? So your users typically aren't going to see any kind of branding on the front end of the site. If you are thinking, hey, I want to be an agency and I want to build a WordPress platform, but act like it's a SaaS, software as a service, and there's no other third-party representations of any other tools, and I want to rename everything so that the one client that might be the admin or have access to the back end of the site doesn't see any third-party branding, that would be that white label thing. And so I would imagine absolutely you could white label it yourself. You could have that developed. You could have icons removed and stuff. But realistically, if we're talking about what the user sees on the front end, there's nothing to worry about. And I'm pretty sure you're the same person. I think I answered this in in one of our support emails. I thought this was a really interesting use case that you had, because I pictured, the checklist and tracking your progress through a course and lesson structure. I pictured that like, imagine buying a really complicated piece of furniture from IKEA, and instead of them having that weird, printout with the papers all over the floor, you could literally have it go to somebody like, scan this with your phone, boom, and it goes to a course page and it says, step 1, do this, 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 and this. And then it goes to section 2 and says step 2, and then do this, do this, do this, do this, step 3. And I was like, wow, there's actually a really good use case for that when I think about some of the training I've done in the past. Diesel repair, motorcycle repair, mountain bike repair, like those kinds of things. If we were to take those typically service manual processes, but digitize them into a course and lesson structure, and then use the prerequisite structure so that you have to go step by step and you can't skip ahead. And then you mark complete when you're done. And then the car is built, the truck is fixed, the motorcycle runs. That's a really cool use case. And that was the first that I'd really started to put that together, Adam. What do you think, Emily?
I think you answered it pretty thoroughly. Adam did say, yep, you emailed me. That's helpful. Thanks. And they're good with it on the back end, just not the front end. And that's what they're interested in creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The white label stuff always kind of gets me, Emily. And I just, I've been an agency now for a long time, right? So Mañana No Mas got founded in 2008 officially, but I was working before that freelancing. And I don't know, I've never really wanted to like take someone else's logo out of something they've created. I've always just felt like, here's a tool that I represent. I added it to your website and it works. I've always looked at it like, I'm not a developer, I'm an implementer, right? My job is to find the right tool for the right situation, the right solution, and put that in place and make it work for you. And I think that's the way most agencies and clients look at things. But there are a handful of folks that are trying to leverage WordPress in a WordPress as a service mindset rather than WordPress like from a typical agency perspective. So I can see the need. It's just that a lot of those needs don't get answered across the broad spectrum of plugin providers. Yeah, I went off on a tangent there. I apologize. It was like a rabbit trail.
It's all good. We did have another question coming from Adam. How about taking things further? Direct-to-customer checklists are great. Here are 10 steps to take when X happens. But we're also having companies come to us and ask to white label it for them. So you have checklists for customers and companies who want to white label it. One scenario is a hospice company wants to offer 10 of our checklists with their branding powered by buried in the network in work to their customers. Any thoughts? You could develop that as like a course, I guess, right? Develop a checklist as a course and then clone the course and white label it for them. Kind of have a portal for that.
Yeah, it's so interesting the way that you think about this. Like in this situation, and I don't know that this is completely true or not, but let's say I'm in the hospice market. I've got 30 hospices that I'm going to serve with a similar checklist kind of format. So first things first, is the LMS the tool, or is a form tool more like the tool? Like, would I build a checklist in a form tool and have that on a landing page, or would I actually put it into a course and lesson format to force, to force prerequisites and working in order and marking completions and things like that? So that's kind of a use case that I would differentiate. But when we say, white label and branding, I see that all as front end stuff. And so I immediately in my head, and I could be crazy because sometimes I jump to crazy things. If I had 50 hospices, I would be thinking, wow, if it's all going to be the similar format and similar process, and I'm going to duplicate that over 50 instances, I would probably consider multi-siting that thing. And then each one gets their own site that they can brand with their own logo, powered by Buried in Work, and their own colors, their own fonts. But everything would be updated by the central page, like how a multi-site works. And so that's just what immediately came to mind, because if it's multi-site and you give them access to their own site as a user, director, manager, whatever, you're not necessarily giving them access to the admin dashboard or to even see the tools that created the front end result. So even if you gave them back end access, you can modify that user role to eliminate access to things you've created in Lifter or Fluent Form or whatever your other tools are. You can eliminate those from the admin menu, and you can manage the content that's exposed on the front end. Shazam. See, now I went crazy. I mentioned multi-site. Now here come the questions. So if we multi-site, what happens if we make an edit? Do we need to update each one? So in multi-site, the cool thing about multi-site is, depending on how you set it up, because there's different ways to set up multi-sites, you can set it up so that they share the media bin. So maybe you update a picture in the media bin and it updates across all 50 sites. Like, you can have that happen. But the cool thing about a multi-site, like I said, is you can control plugin updates, sometimes the media bin, sometimes global posts if you're using blogging to send out information. You can do that all through one instance that shares with all 50 sites. But the cool thing is, each of those sites can also have autonomy over their color, their font, their logo, things like that. And so, yeah, it's a really cool setup. If you dive down that rabbit trail and look at multi-site, there's a couple of cool things to do. Now, I will go out on one more limb here, Adam, just because I feel like being fully transparent is important. If you do a deep dive and you look up multi-sites on the LifterLMS knowledge docs, you're going to see a blurb that says that we don't fully support multi-site. From personal experience, I'm going to tell you, I've never had an issue using LifterLMS in a multi-site situation. However, I don't know that our support team is equipped to fully support people in multi-site situations. So I just want to toss that out there. If you fully look at our knowledge docs, you're going to see, oh, they might not support multi-site. I've used it. It works wonderfully. It spools up site after site after site. Remember, I have the Infinity bundle, so I can have as many instances of LifterLMS as I want, and I use it freely. I really take advantage of the exposure I get in the Lifter framework. Setup and domains. That's a choice for you, Adam. When you set up a multi-site, you get to choose. Do you want each one to be a subdomain? Do you want each one to be like a / folder, right? So if it was buriedinwork.com /hospice1 / hospice2, that's totally acceptable. You can also set it up the other way, so where it actually goes like hospice1.buriedinwork.com. So you can do it either way when you set up your multi-site, but you got to kind of pick that at the beginning. Shazam. We got some questions from Jorge too. We can jump in with Jorge real quick. Adam's going to spool up for a little bit on multi-site, I think. Jorge says, is there a plugin that will help me implement single sign-on into my courses? Shazam. What's your favorite one, Emily?
Single sign-on.
Yeah, single
Um,
sign-on.
I only know one. It's like WordPress SSO. I just don't even worry about it. SAML.
I think that's hilarious. You're like, I just don't even worry about it.
I don't
Um,
worry about it. It's like they all kind of do the same thing. Like fundamentally, SSO. Like I know how it works, and so all the plugins leverage the same functionality to just like check if the user is authenticated in an account currently. So they're not super complicated. It just means that like your website now has a little bit more sensitive data because storing those tokens means that you know you just need better security if you're going to store that kind of data. I don't know.
so I will go one step further and say that when I look at the repository for these types of tools, um, when I look, I'm absolutely looking at how many active installs do they have. And I'm going to go for the one that has the higher number of active installs typically, right? It's a popularity contest in my mind. And I also want to look at when it was last updated. So, like if the last update was a year ago, especially considering all the vast changes in WordPress over the last year, I'm like, nope, it's not being maintained well enough for me. So, I'm going to want to look for when was it last updated, how many active installs, and then I go to reviews and I look and see if there are, any glaring, unanswered review issues in the reviews page. And if everything looks good, then I give that plugin a run. If you're an agency and you're building this for somebody else, I would encourage putting it on to some type of a staging or test site first, playing with it yourself a little bit, getting familiar with it and confident with it, and then exposing it to the client.
I also found the one that I've been using. This one.
Yeah, I've used that one.
2 months ago, 300,000 installs. It's a pretty simple one, and it works well with LifterLMS login.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. It just I can't share the client site that we use this on, but it has the options. I don't know if we can get a good demo of it. It sits right above the LifterLMS login form, the one that we use. You can choose your layout settings. So the one that I'm used to is like you're on the LifterLMS dashboard page on this page here, and then it would just be like a little item that appears right above the login form when you're on this page. Looks something like this. Could do that too, but this makes more sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've used that one before. I like it. And it's so weird because on one hand, you'll have a conversation and go, oh, well, that's like super simple. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. And then I had a conversation with a client. Oh, man, this has been 3 years ago already. I can't believe the time goes that fast. They were like, oh, do you do single sign on? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's not a problem. And I totally just said, yes, absolutely not a problem. And then they were like, well, that's awesome because we need to connect the website to our HR software and we use Microsoft Dynamic 365. And I was like, ooh, open mouth, insert foot. So my overconfidence got me saddled up with having to figure out a single sign-on using the REST API and connecting to Dynamic 365. So yeah, sometimes it's really important to really isolate down and go, okay, what did you really ask for? What did you really want to do? Because it can be completely different.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go back to, because we started out like a chariot on fire. And now here we are 25 minutes into the call and we seem to be stalled a little bit. So folks, if you are here watching us live and you have any questions about LifterLMS or working with WordPress in general, we can typically try to help with that. Emily and myself are here to answer any questions that you might have. And of course, one of the things that I need to return, let me turn this one off and get back to comments and go back up to, and because I didn't say it, I put it up, we didn't say it. For watching this call, you get a 55% off coupon code. You can go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. And that'll take you to a page that will earn you 55% off on your first purchase. There, I feel complete now. You complete me. All right. Are you putting in a question?
Yeah, it's not a question from me, but I'm just pulling stuff out of Help Scott.
Yeah, no, have at it. Have at it here. Oh, here's one from Christopher Hussey. I didn't see Christopher sign in. Do you have any best practices for LifterLMS and BuddyBoss? Oh, I just took BuddyBoss off my own site.
Why? You were such a big advocate.
Okay, so let's be really blunt and transparent. When I put BuddyBoss on my site, I was doing a string of clients that wanted BuddyBoss websites.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer that if I'm an agency, I should have a representation of something that I work with. And
Mhm.
so you'll notice, like when SkyPilot came out, I had SkyPilot on a couple of sites right away. When people started asking me about BuddyBoss, I said, okay, let's leverage BuddyBoss and see what that does. When I had people kind of go from Groundhog to Fluent CRM, I was like, all right, well, let's take a look at Fluent. Let's try and use that personally in business so I can gain confidence with it and represent that product. Like, yeah, I really do use it. So I had BuddyBoss in my site. Now, my agency is not a community. So 6 months, 8 months, 9 months in, there's nobody in my groups. There's nobody in my forums, right? Because I'm selling hosting and web development. I'm not really creating a social atmosphere for that. And so BuddyBoss is heavy. It slowed things down for me a little bit. And if I'm going to be blunt, I wanted to restyle my page because for some reason I can never seem to leave it alone. So that's when I went to the next thing on the list, and that was Bricks. I had tried to use Bricks 2 or 3 times unsuccessfully, and it was a real challenge for me to wrap my head around the difference in using Bricks compared to like Elementor or the block editor. So I'm old. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So now the Mañana no Mas site is done in Bricks, and BuddyBoss is gone. Now, that all said, best practices for LifterLMS and BuddyBoss. There's something that a lot of people miss in BuddyBoss. I'm going to say it in a way that sounds derogatory. It's not. You just have to think it through. Who is a member in BuddyBoss? It's anybody in your website. Anyone that's registered in your website, anyone on your users list is a member in BuddyBoss. And so what I found with a lot of the clients that use BuddyBoss is after they use it, after they set it up, after they make a commitment to it, they realize, holy crud, absolutely everybody that comes to this website has access to the social features. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted the social features to be paid access, and I wanted them to pay a VIP membership and then get access to the groups and the forums and the this and the that. And then that takes more work. And so for me, the best practice is doing a deep dive on the actual platform and understanding what it does and how it works. Now, the cool part about using LifterLMS with BuddyBoss is that LifterLMS, unlike other WordPress-based LMS tools, comes with some built-in membership management and content restriction features. And because we have the membership and content restriction features built in the LifterLMS that are site-wide, you're able to have a little more control over who sees what inside your social part of your website. And so that to me makes the pairing of those a really, really great deal. If you were on a different LMS, one of our competitors, then you would be looking quite literally at like, because you think BuddyBoss is a membership plugin, but it's not a membership plugin. It is a social plugin. And so what you really need is something with a membership tool to manage the users and the access. And, Paid Memberships Pro is good for that. But there's a different way to install Paid Memberships Pro with LifterLMS. And then there's Shore Members. I use Shore Member on a few sites very successfully to augment the relationship between BuddyBoss and the other elements of a website that didn't have LifterLMS. And so it really just depends on what stage you're at in your project. Like, did you start with BuddyBoss and now you're adding other elements in? Or do you already have all these other elements and you're thinking you need a social feature? I'm going to really go over another threshold here and risk getting bad emails from people. There is a new community plugin that is currently in beta that is rolling out from the Fluent people. people that make Fluent Form and Fluent CRM and Fluent Booking. There's a new Fluent Community plugin. Again, it's in beta, but I think it's gonna roll out of beta pretty quickly. They develop at a fast rate at that company, and I've tried it. I've tried the beta version of it. It's very lightweight. It doesn't weigh down the site as much as far as like resources on the server, and it's a really clean experience. And so you really have to weigh what you're really looking for. Buddy Boss, I think, has more features, deeper, richer features than the Fluent Community plugin. But for what a lot of people are using the community plugins for, the Fluent Community one might be the one that you really want to look at. And so you could take a look at fluentcommunity.co, I believe I could be wrong, but I think that's the URL. And then you could look at how that's being developed. Oh, I went down there, and then he puts, oh, so did we do a subdomain community website? Is this a good idea? Okay. Emily, you're really good at answering this. You're better at answering this than I am. We've done this multiple times. This is like, do you want to put Lifter on a subdomain or the main domain? Do you want to put your community on a subdomain or a main domain? Say that again, because you do it really well.
Yeah, I think there's a few factors to take into consideration, depending on, first one is like the size of your company and how complicated it's going to be to manage two different websites. At LifterLMS, we have academy.lifterlms.com where we host our courses, and then we have LifterLMS where we sell the software. We used to have a website called blog.lifterlms.com, and we really regretted that because we were splitting our marketing between two websites. We had blog LifterLMS and LifterLMS, so these would like compete for SEO. LifterLMS.com would win, blog.lifterlms.com would never surface. You wouldn't be able to find our blog posts when you were looking for some content. So we ended up moving the blog into the main website. So depending on what the purpose of your website is, if it's for marketing purposes and you want as much traffic to come to that website as possible, then I would recommend having it all in one website. However, if this is not a public-facing community, if this is post-sale, if it's a completely locked down website that you don't get access to until you pay for the service, then I would think a subdomain is a really good idea, because then you get that advantage, as Kurt was talking about, with speed and optimization and heaviness, because a community plugin on your marketing website is going to slow things down at least a little bit. So having a subdomain, a private website that's going to be a little bit slower, that's post-sale, is a good way to go. But that assumes that your team is able to handle two websites, but it's also nice because you can have success people on the community side and sales people on the marketing side. You can speed optimize and cache your marketing website, and then you can have your LMS community behind the paywall on the community side. That's how I like to think about it.
Yeah, I like the way that you answer that. I get tongue-tied in that part of the conversation.
Yeah, and it's a cool way to do it. I think it is also nice though to have people like Google your website to try to sign in, like to say like, oh, because then there's a bunch of traffic coming to your website. Like you get all that traffic advantages of people coming to your site. However, if people are primarily getting to your website through a private portal, through an email link or something like that, then there's not going to be that search advantage. But sometimes people go to Google and they just type your domain in and then they click on the login right there. And so that'll be traffic coming to your website from Google. So however important SEO is to you, that changes a lot of the consideration.
Changes a lot of the strategy, sure does. There's a couple of questions that Christopher has in here. One I thought showed up that said, what do I think about Avada? That's from Adam. Adam said, what do you think about Avada? We'll get to you in just a moment, Adam. I want to finish this one right here. Here we go. Hosting. Thanks. It's post-sale. So that kind of answers that, right? So post-sale, it's nice. That subdomain thing might be an answer for you. Now, how do I feel about Rapid as the server? Rapid has a direct relationship with Buddy Boss. And as Rapid was getting unleashed to the public, right? So as a way to say like, hey, as it was getting announced, as Buddy Boss was saying, hey, we recommend you use Rapid as the hosting. I had a client that had moved all of their products to Rapid. And in fact, Emily helped me out migrating that site. You remember that site we did with that educational site?
Yeah.
Super, super nice people. Now, what I have noticed about working with that customer and staying in touch with them is they are extremely happy. They love the customer service they get from Rapid. They also love how fast the website works. Like the server resources are generous. The website is super, super fast. They've got, I believe, 3 different Buddy Boss projects on Rapid right now. So they like it. They like it. Here's where I got lost. I looked at how much it cost and I went, "Oh my goodness." They're proud of their hosting. So hosting is one of those things where you start shopping around, and the more you shop, the more confused you get. And when you start to have a conversation with people about it, everybody has an opinion, and it's like politics. They pick a side sometimes, and they just don't want to give. I think Rapid's fairly new on the scene, but it's definitely high performance, and you pay for the performance that you get. So I think that's fair. If you go down the Buddy Boss route, it's probably definitely worth considering Rapid as the host because they work together. In fact, I think there's some kind of co-ownership there now that happened over the last year or so. So worth checking out, but also worth checking out some options and looking at your budget. All right, here we go. How about with Avada? So have you ever worked with Avada, Emily?
Is that a theme? I'm pretty sure I've
Yeah.
worked with that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where Kurt gets to be more controversial again. I'm going to tell you, folks, you guys are throwing me the questions today that's going to get me in trouble. Chris is going to call me from LifterLMS. He's going to say, "Kurt, it's been great working with you, but you and your opinions got to go." I get really, really nervous when I jump into a sales page for any kind of a theme and it starts listing things like forums or courses or schedulers or instituting the classic editor or any of those things. Like, to me, and I'm this is fairly recent in my journey with WordPress. I'm going to say it's only been the last 5 or 6 years. Because I used to be shiny object syndrome guy. I used to go, "Oh, that's really cool. It says it's a theme, but it also does scheduling. It sounds great." I've really come to understand, in my mind, a theme is like fonts and colors. It's like it's like having a house built and going to the design center and saying, "I want this tile, this color paint, this style of wood trim, and I want Corian counters." Like, to me, that's the theme. And then plugins are the functions. I want an on-demand water heater versus a different water heater. I want, so for me, I pick a theme as the decoration for my website, and I pick the plugins for the function of my website. And I find that when I get distracted by products that combine the two, I find that I lose a lot of the flexibility and the freedom that was intended to be with WordPress. So I get locked into kind of a walled garden of, let's say a different booking tool comes out and I want to use that booking tool, but now it's a conflict with the one that's in my theme. And now I'm stuck. I can't use it. Or I have my website up for 3 years and I go, "Man, I really want to make some styling changes. I really want to change the user flow, the user experience through my site." But I realize, because I so heavily leverage the tools of the theme as functions, I'm locked into certain design elements that came with the theme as well. And so I'm real hesitant to pick something that is an all-in-one toolbox. I'd much rather see somebody go with a more recognized, universal, ubiquitous theme like Astra or Cadence or our very own SkyPilot, and then go to the plugins for the functions. That's kind of how my brain works. Now the people at Avada are going to send me a nasty message. Do you feel that way, Emily, or do you think I'm being paranoid?
I don't know. I don't develop like a lot of functionality into my theme, so I really don't care. I'm like, yeah, choose whatever theme you want. I think I'm kind of over trying to be like, well, these are the best themes, these are the worst themes. I'm like, what works works. You just need to make sure that, like, if you want to have sidebars on lessons, that your theme is going to be able to support that, or you're going to be able to make it work, which is That's really it. But I do recommend if you are building from scratch and you're going just for a Lifter LMS website, you might want to consider sticking with some of those main themes in our community, Astra, Cadence, Skypilot, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's others out there. I mean, obviously people talk about Bricks. Bricks is a theme and a builder. Divi is still very popular. I am not a huge Divi fan, but I have a lot of clients using Divi. I got another one this week, Will. Another one. Sometimes I can't believe it. I'm like, I'll be having a needs assessment call with somebody and I'll be like, just let me see the back end real quick. And I'll be like, dang it, it's another Divi site. Like, how do these people find me? But they do. So it's interesting. I shouldn't be like that because the folks at Elegant Themes are wonderful, great people. Their marketing is incredible and their support's really good too. So, but still, I find there's more hoops for me to jump through in the Lifter world using Divi than if I was just like in the block theme. So let's change subjects before I really walk down a bad path. Hubert likes to type. So Hubert writes, hello, good day, Kurt and Emily. I'm just assuming he's from Australia. Building a training website in WordPress, I have several white label courses plus limitless courses to resell for a professional organization. The white label courses are in SCORM, 2004, XAPI, CMI5, HTML5, and Storyline. And I understand that I need Grassblade with LifterLMS. Questions. Can LifterLMS accommodate that many courses provided on demand for my students? 2, is Grassblade XAPI the correct plugin or cloud? Hubert, you got 17 questions wrapped into this one, and I'm going to try and answer these for you in a way that makes sense. First off, when you say that you have limitless courses to resell for a professional organization, I'm going to tell you what that sounds like to me. That sounds like one of those cloud subscriptions on like scormcloud.com, where you might be using a different like third-party tool that kind of like plugs the website into SCORM Cloud. That's out there. And in fact, the gentleman that initially made that, where it says, hey, you know, let SCORM play in your WordPress website, and he has that where you're actually hosting the courses on SCORM Cloud and you're paying a subscription to SCORM Cloud, but you're using your WordPress website to give people access to that library in SCORM Cloud. And so they literally, they click on the link in your website, but it plays in scormcloud.com, and then they return to your website upon completion. That's different than what we typically do with LifterLMS. And so when you say something like limitless courses, first thing you need to know, with LifterLMS, we don't institute any limits at all. You can have unlimited students, unlimited courses, unlimited instructors, unlimited lessons, unlimited, all kinds of things. And that is what drug me from the corporate training models on custom-built SCORM websites to LifterLMS and WordPress in the first place. So I kind of feel your pain a little bit on like, I know what it's like to have a $500,000 website to play SCORM, and then have the website do nothing else but be ugly and play SCORM. Like, at least with WordPress, you have a CMS, right? So you can have blogs around it. You can have a store embedded around it. You can have a WooCommerce shop, you know, next to your courses. I mean, you can build a whole business in WordPress that you can't typically do in one of those custom websites for SCORM unless you develop beyond the original intent. So I kind of understand that. Now, your question about Grassblade. Grassblade is the tool that we typically recommend to connect to LifterLMS to play your SCORM content. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to put Grassblade XAPI into your website. You're also going to add the free tool that integrates Grassblade to Lifter, and then you're going to be able to upload those SCORM courses, those zip files, directly to your site and have those play. If you need the quizzing and you need the testing from the SCORM to sync with the LifterLMS reporting, then you're also going to need what's called a learning record store, and Grassblade also has that. So that would be a separate subscription. To my knowledge, Grassblade is, I think it's, was it $99 a year per site? And they don't do like an agency license. It's one license per site. And then it's the same with the Grassblade LRS. Now, that is super, super cheap when you're considering, if you came from a $500,000 or $150,000, custom SCORM website. When we say, oh, well, now you're going to need $200 a year to run this and get the reporting. I have corporate people, enterprise clients, literally kind of chuckle at me and think that I'm making stuff up. Like, oh, well, it'll never work then. But it works great. I literally had 3 new SCORM projects in the last week and a half. So one of them was with the state of Oregon, in fact. So people are beginning to transition over, and they're beginning to see the benefit of doing it. Now, we have a free course. I'm going to go and grab the URL to this. LifterLMS. If you go to the Academy and then you go to Browse Courses, at the bottom of browsing courses, I think, yeah, SCORM WordPress tutorial. I'm going to grab that link and I'll put that in chat for you. Let's come over here and SCORM course. SCORM course. This SCORM course, I think, does a good job of just giving you the confidence to install and try things. We show you directly in the SCORM course how to put GrassBlade in, how to connect it. We used a sample GrassBlade LRS account so that we could show how that connection actually kind of works. And it works really well. So we have that course there. We also have a list of experts on the experts page. So if you went to lifterlms.com/experts, you would see a list of people there that would be qualified to help you. What's really interesting about having transitioned from the corporate space to agency space and working with enterprise clients, I find that a lot of agencies spend so much time trying to say, well, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. This is how you do the other thing. And a lot of enterprise clients aren't in the market to build and manage their own websites. They just want to hire someone to do it. They just want to hire someone to click the magic button and make it happen. And if you take a look at our experts page, if you're in that audience where you're like, yeah, it's cool. Now that I know that it can happen, I just want to hire someone to make it real. That's why we have that experts page. You can jump over to experts and find yourself a qualified individual to build that out for you. Emily is on the page, and so am I. So along with a lot of other really qualified, cool people that we've gotten to know over the last few years. It says here, I won't be promoting more than 20 courses at any one period. I just go right back to it, Hubert. It doesn't matter. With LifterLMS, you wouldn't have the limit of that. So what you could do, and now I'm going to sound crazy, you could categorize your courses. You could have 100 courses and you could categorize them. This one's technical, this one's personal development, this one's WordPress pro tips, this one's whatever. And then you could categorize those courses and build a custom catalog that automatically sorts based on each category. And so you wouldn't have to limit yourself to say, I only want to offer 20 classes. You could have, 4 categories of 20 classes each, and then you would be at 80 classes, right? So there's really cool ways that you can do this stuff. And what I really like about the way LifterLMS interacts with GrassBlade as far as playing SCORM content is within the platform, you choose how you want the content to be displayed. So do you want your SCORM content to be embedded within the page? Meaning, you could put content around it, right? So you could have a heading, a paragraph, your SCORM content, followed by a picture and a video on YouTube if you wanted. Like you could have a whole multimedia, SCORM presentation right in one page. You could also have it pop up as the light box. And that's typically what most custom LMSs do, right? The whole page kind of fades and then this light box pops up and the SCORM package plays inside the light box. That's typically what we see on these other custom LMSs. And then my favorite feature, like, when you're working in Storyline to a certain extent, but the Rise courses, Articulate Rise seems to make really good visual courses that, it's kind of like a PowerPoint that scrolls and goes down. Those types of courses, I think, look really good on a full page, and they have that open in a new tab. So one of the settings is open in a new tab, and then it opens up full screen. And I think it's a more immersive experience for the student. And so what's cool about this is depending on your content, how old it is and how it's styled, you can actually adjust how a course displays based on the specific course, rather than just in global settings. So there's global settings in Grassblade, but for each upload that you put into the system, you can pick different. You can override the global setting. And so there's a lot of really cool choices in using Grassblade and LifterLMS together for your SCORM content. I went a little crazy there again. I'm sorry.
It's all good, all good. Let us just know if you have any other questions in the chat. But I think we did run over one about 25 minutes ago. Adam had another question, which was this one. Going back to customers, can they share course progress or a checklist with other people? For context, we help people simplify estate planning and end-of-life tasks. If we used Lifter to make steps to take when someone dies checklist trackable, can someone share their progress with other people?
Yeah, a course is intended as a single person experience. I don't know that you can have more than one person see the same content in the same course in the same instance.
Yeah, unless like you did something like with a groups or something where you had like Lifter groups and you had your whole family as a part of a group. You can change LifterLMS groups titles pretty easily. So you could call a group families. So you could have families sign up to your website. And soon with Groups 2.0, when that comes out, we have already seen a demo of it, but we'll be able to have groups sign up. So you can have families sign up and you could have like price per family member, like $10 per family member. I don't know, whatever you want to set up. It would create a family or group for them. They could all kind of see the same course progress. And if the courses were like dynamic and had comments turned on, all of those users could comment on lessons to each other or comment on the course. It could be like a little family portal because that course is only going to be visible to the people in that group. Now, the problem is with the group automatic creation thing is that it would enroll people in a course that other people are also enrolled into. So you can't have like all these families discussing all their checklists with each other, unless you wanted that, but probably it's pretty private information. So you'd actually have to manually create these courses and groups for people.
Yeah, you'd have to use like the cohort tool to draft another instance of the course, basically clone it and rename it for that specific group or family.
Yeah.
Very doable though.
Very doable. And like you could do like Gravity View or something could come into play maybe. That's one where you have Gravity Forms where people can fill out information. Like Gravity Forms has checklists as an option. And then Gravity View allows people to edit those form submissions. And I think you can change the user permissions as to who can edit it, but you just have to find a way to have like groups of people being able to edit these things and also still having some of that data be private, because I'm sure it's like HIPAA protected and stuff.
You mentioned a good thing with that HIPAA stuff. There are, have you had to work with a HIPAA host recently?
Not recently. It was just a couple of years ago. I did like 2 HIPAA sites.
Oh, you got to submit it and then it's got to be approved. And does it do this? Does it do that? And so there's so many things that the client wants. You know, they want to have people interact and they want to have people communicate. And then the HIPAA host looks at it and goes, well, everything's fine, but these 3 things. And you're like, well, those are the 3 things they hired me to build. Like, that's going to be a stumbling block in our next conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, working with HIPAA is it's an adventure. I hate to sound like this, but you know, if budget's an issue, definitely make that part of your questions going in for the need assessment if you're having something built, because there's a lot of hoops with HIPAA that some people might not think are logical. Right. And once it's approved, that was the other thing. Once it's approved, the client doesn't get like full admin access to the site, right? Because they can't install any plugins.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they lock that down. They're like, we approved it this way and you can use it this way, but if you want to change it, you have to ask us about it later. And it's like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. Can't you just get approved, like get the state of the website approved and then like not like you just have all of the information reported generally to the compliance organizations? There was someone I was working with who was like a not a what are they called? First responder person. And they just basically were handling the HIPAA side of it. But both of us were admins, and we just we're just kind of delicate with it. Like we were the admins and the hosts. Like you can become your own host at that point and just have that compliance.
Yeah, no. So I skipped that part. I don't want to get sued. So, so yeah, I went through a specific HIPAA compliant host,
Okay.
and that HIPAA compliant host was like, you cannot give your client admin access to this site.
Right.
Like,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're kind of locked in forever. You got to make sure you charge people enough money for maintenance at that point, because now you're forever stuck on the hook.
Yeah. I mean, I was working with like a paramedic person who was responsible for the HIPAA part of it, and then I was just hired to like build things with them. So fundamentally, they were managing all that, but I was just like working with them to dance around requirements.
Yeah. All right. I realized I didn't put the SCORM tutorial actually on the screen, so I put it on the screen if somebody wants to get the access to that. It's you go to LifterLMS, and in the main menu, click on Academy, and we have a list of courses in there. Emily's authored a few. I've got a few in there, and then the rest of the team's got some. The content in there is great. Like, not just because we made it, right? Because that'd be really self-serving. But I think back to 9 years ago when I started working with LifterLMS. It wasn't because I thought LifterLMS was the be all end all. It was because people on the team answered support tickets as real human beings and not bots, and had calls like this and stuff like that. And so I was attracted to the team as a customer long before I started working with the team. And so it's cool when you can go in there and see those tutorials and those courses and stuff like that. And Adam says, this has been really helpful. Adam's probably mad at me on the inside because now he's like, I got a lot more stuff to look up. Adam, I think you've already used, help at LifterLMS before, help at LifterLMS.com. Feel free to put in, other questions or something like that regarding your use case. It's a pretty unique use case. So I fully understand that you might have some questions or some gaps that pop up in your understanding. All right. And Goody Two Shoes, he is emailing me right now. All right. What did I say at the beginning? Holy smokes. No, that's not what I said. When I was like, well, to take a look at that.
You might have said like doggone it. I don't know.
Doggone it. That was it. Doggone it. Wow. We'll have to get a look at that for you. Hey, I don't know if this is for you or not, but hey, just for fun, why don't you guys take a moment and take a look at the 55% off coupon that we have rolling right now over at LifterLMS. All you got to do is head on over. Oh, let me click the link there. There we go. LifterLMS.com/AMA-gift. LifterLMS.com/AMA-gift. Folks, this takes us to the top of the hour. It's been fun hanging out with everybody. We were off to a little slow start with the questions rolling in. I was a little nervous, but you guys came through. Adam, Hubert, thanks for keeping us busy. And we got Christopher in there. Who else we got? We had the one at the top was Carrie. Cammy. Cammy was with us. So we've got some regulars that have been coming. We missed you. So if you didn't have any questions, do something really silly and stupid the next week so you can join us with new questions. All right. That's it. You have anything to add at the end?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, let's hit them with this.